Greetings everyone, Slizzle466 here, and in today's video we're looking at some of the best wild Alterac Valley decks from day 3 of the expansion. Now the meta is starting to settle a little bit, so we have a little bit fewer number of decks than the last day 1 and day 2 videos. If you missed those, you'll see the links to those in the description below with the deck codes associated with those videos. But here, I've got 7 decks to share. First one is Questline Hunter. Now this is not odd Questline Hunter, this is just a regular Questline Hunter. It's also not running any new cards, and it's probably not as good as odd Questline Hunter. As you can see, I still don't own the Questline. Maybe I'll craft it one day. But if this is something you'd like to try out and you don't want to be one of the odd Questline Hunter get free legend players, this would be a good way to do it. Next we have Mentalistic's Aggro Paladin. I love myself some Aggro Paladin, and this is a pretty sick list. The card that really throws this list over the edge is the Iron Deep Trog. This has turned out to be quite the card, both in Wild and in Standard. Outside of this, you've got the Drekthar, which is basically your third Call to Arms in the deck. And you've also got Dun Baldar Bridge. After you summon a minion, give it +2/+2. This lasts for 3 turns. What's really good here is this synergizes with the Iron Deep Trog. So as your opponent plays spells, if you have the Dun Baldar Bridge active, you don't get 1/2s, you're now getting 3/4s. Or maybe that you buffed it some other way, but basically you're getting pretty good stat minions for free. Looking at Rogue, we've got Kingsbane Rogue. Now, I got excited at first when I saw this list, and I still am excited about it, but then I started looking at it a little bit more carefully. So you kind of start scanning through. It looks pretty normal. It's got some interesting choices that not everyone runs. The Doomerang, for example, the Leeching Poison, but that's fine. Nothing too out of the ordinary. I've even seen Zephyrus before. I mean, it's not the worst idea. Kingsbane Rogue does cycle pretty fast through everything, so it's not the worst option. But then there's the Academic Espionage. That's an interesting choice. There's also a Shadowcrafter Scabs in here. I don't think this is a terrible choice. Again, one big problem with Kingsbane Rogue is if a big taunt is in the way and you don't have a way to deal with it properly, this gets around that. It also gives you a board, gives you a new hero power to work with. It's not like you use the default Rogue hero power very much anyway, because you've got Kingsbane. So definitely a fan of Shadowcrafter Scabs in the list. Looking at Shaman, we've got Aggro Shaman, and this is a confusing one because the player's called aggressive and they play Aggro Shaman, so a little bit of a tongue twister there. But looking at this list, it's got the Bolner Hammerbeak in here, which is also seeing play in Shadowwalk Shaman, which is in a previous video from the Day 2 decks video. So Bolner Hammerbeak's in there, which is pretty useful because there's a lot of battle cries in the list. You've got the Cult Neophyte as a tech. You've got your Devolves to get through taunts, Dirty Rats because Questline decks are annoying. You got your Rockbiter weapon combined with the Doomhammer for a ton of damage. You've got your pretty standard at this point, Sleep Breakers, Brilliant Macaws, great cards. Living Dragon Breath is an interesting one, so your minions can't be frozen. So in this case, you could play, say, Snowfall Guardian, and it's not going to buff as much, but you still get to play around with your board, which is great. The Storm Strike's great just to give your hero some extra damage, and again that synergizes with the Doomhammer as well. Zentimo is a nice addition to have in the list. The Earth Revenant for board clear purposes and just to have a taunt in the way against more aggressive decks. The Inera Storm Crash is pretty great. Give your hero +2 attack and Wind Furies. It's kind of like a third Doomhammer in a way. Lower Theb to stall. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty heavy on the top end for an aggro deck, but I don't think you can really call it mid-range because you're basically just trying to whack your opponent in the face. It's basically an aggro deck with a pretty heavy mid-range set of cards. Moving on to Warlock, we got even Reno lock. Now this list actually doesn't run any new cards. However, it is teched for the current meta, and that's something important. So Cult Neophyte is for the Questline Hunters. Demonic Project is for the Questline decks. Dirty Rats for the Questline decks. Galactic Crawlers for the Pirate Warriors. Big Game Hunter is for the even locks. Scrolling through, again, pretty ordinary even Reno lock cards. Nerubian Unraveler is in there for the Questline Hunters, but also for the mages. There's quite a lot of mage around as well, whether it's APM mage, Ignite mage, lots of varieties out there. And that also is the same case for the Cult Neophyte for the mages. You got your top end even demons, the Gul'dan to bring them back, your giant, your null. This list is not running N'Zoth, and N'Zoth can be considered a little greedy, but if you want to put it in, you could find a card to cut to sneak it in. But again, no new cards, but tech for the meta, which is always important for a Reno deck. If you want to play regular even lock, this is a great way to do it. Again, you got the Neophytes, mainly for the Hunters and Mages. You got your Dirty Rats for the Quest decks. The Watch Posts can be pretty irritating for your opponents to deal with, especially if they're spell or heavy draw decks. Recombobulator is a great tech. It can be used to heal up your nulls to turn them into a much better 10-drop after you attack with them. You can also use them to heal up your Molten Giants or your Mountain Giants if you want to. Otherwise, there's a Dreadlich Tamsin in here, so this gives you a way to clear the board if aggro is causing you problems and you don't have the means to deal with it. You draw some cards, you get some rifts in your deck, which is great. And your hero power changes from shuffling rifts into your decks and drawing cards. And then the other new card to mention is Lok'hala the Ice Lord. Basically, even lock, your health is always pretty low, so this is basically a 5-mana Rush Wind Fury 8/8, which is great. And again, once you play it on the board, it is a 10-mana card, so it also combines nicely with the Recombobulator. You can get 2 trades in, and then get a brand new 10-cost minion. Last, I'm going to say least, it's Pirate Warrior. There's nothing new in here, but this specific list I found online. There aren't that many lists floating around, mainly because the list has already been figured out. But the reason I want to feature this list is it's just a little greedier than you typically see. So starting at the top here, there's nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary. Then you hit down here, Dread Kasser. It's a nice anti-aggro tech. It's good for the mirror. There's a Mr. Smite in here. I find most of the lists that I see run Mr. Smite. I still don't like it in the deck personally. It's never really helped me. But the super top legend people are running it, so maybe it's good for them. The Sky Captain Crag is also pretty greedy, having that in there. So you got a little bit of greed to help you against more control-y decks, but otherwise, it's Pirate Warrior. It's an incredible deck. So if you want to find any of the deck codes for these decks, or again, as mentioned earlier from previous best deck videos for the Alterac Valley expansion, you'll find all the deck codes in the description below. If you are a mobile user and you're having trouble copying those codes, you can join my Discord. There's an easy to enter link in the description below. Visit the Deck Lists Only channel and you'll find all the deck codes there, much easier to copy and paste on a mobile device. If you want to help support this channel, you can click the subscribe button, click the notification bell, and until next time, hope to see you again.